Perik Yud Beis, Pasuk Hey Vav. All right, let's cover some ground today. Let's cover some ground. Move this out of the way. Page. What page is it, gentlemen?
56.
Okay. So Avram Avinu, it says like this, top of page 56. Vayetzu Lecha says Hashem says Avram to start going, and it says Vayetzu Lecha Arza Canaan Vayavo Arza Canaan. They leave to go to the land of Canaan, and they arrive in the land of Canaan. Now, one of the commentaries points out very subtle. Look at the first word Canaan on the top of the page. Look at the very first word Canaan. The vowel under the nun, Canaan. In Hebrew, the name of the vowel is a patach. Patach, the name of the vowels are all sound like with the vowels. So a patach is an ah sound. A chirik is a e sound, a little dot. A segol is a three, the what do you call it, the pyramid. And then you have what's called a komatz, is aw, ah, aw. There's aw and there's ah. So you'll notice that the first time it says, go to the land of Canaan, with a patach under the nun, a straight line. And the last word says, Canaan, with a komatz under the nun. Now the word kometz means to kind of close your fist, to close it up. So one of the Meforshim points out over here, Avram Avinu is told, go to the land of Canaan, which is open. Hashem promised him, you're going to prosper, you'll be famous, everything will be good. But when he arrives there, komatz, it actually turns into a closed land, because we're going to see in a second that it's what do you call it? That there's a famine in the land of Israel. And then skip down to Pasuk Yud. It's about 8 lines from the top. Vehi rav ba'aretz. Please keep that door open. Do me a favor. Keep that door open. Keep that door. If you can push the thing on the bottom, thanks. Vehi rav ba'aretz. There is a famine in the land. Now that's a disappointment, because God just said to Avram, go to the land of Canaan and everything's going to be good. So you go to the land of Canaan, and then all of a sudden you find that there's a famine over there. And there's a concept running through the Torah over here, page 56, Rabbi. There's a concept running through the Torah called Maisa Avos Siman Labanim. Maisa Avos Siman Labanim means what happened to the forefathers is a prelude of what's going to be happening to their children. So, for example, Avram Avinu comes there to Israel and he finds out there's a lot of difficulties over here. Later on, Sarah is going to die, and he's got to buy an exorbitant price for some burial ground. So, you come to Eretz Yisrael, you come to Israel, people come to land in Israel, and it's a rough adjustment. It's not easy to get adjusted. Coming from Chutz La'aretz to come to Israel, give up your car and take an Aged bus and get caught in the doors, it's not an easy adjustment. And it's a different culture, different mentality. And then you find out that the prices here are somewhat different than in the rest of the world. The cost of living, I think, in Tel Aviv is the highest in the world, if I'm not mistaken. And Avram Avinu's got to go buy a piece of burial ground, which is usually the cheapest ground, and you've got to pay an exorbitant price. You know what 3 rooms cost you in Israel? If you want to buy a 3-room apartment, you could sell your mansion in Chutz La'aretz. You could buy one of those rooms. So and he comes and says, there's a famine. Wow, this is aggravating. So the Gemara says there are 3 things that are acquired through Yisurim, through suffering. Torah. You gotta sweat to learn Torah. Torah is not easy. If it's a difficult subject, then you gotta really sweat. I remember a friend was in an engineering school. Engineering school is hard. This guy was always studying, and working really. Torah is much harder than engineering school. You gotta invest. It's not easy. Learn Torah and to really master Torah takes a lot of dedication, and it's not easy. Eretz Yisrael takes a lot of dedication to acquire Eretz Yisrael. You gotta be singularly focused to give up the creature comforts to live in Israel. And the last thing is Olam Haba. If we want to acquire a portion in Olam Haba, you're going to take some sacrifice. If you're on an airplane and they don't have your kosher meal, you're going to have to be hungry for a while. That's how you acquire your Olam Haba. If you want to buy an esrog, you're going to have to pay 200 or 250 shekels for a piece of fruit. And that's the way you acquire your olam haba. And with all and you're like, whoa, it's pretty steep for a lemon. That's the way it goes. You're gonna have to pay for your olam haba. So Avram gets to the land. Vayirav oretz, vayired Avram Mitzrayim lo gursham, ki chaved arav oretz. Avram goes down to Egypt. There's a machlokas over here. There's a dispute among the commentaries if he did the right thing or the wrong thing. Most of the commentaries, keep it open, please. Most of the commentaries, keep it open, please. Keep it open, please. Most of the commentaries understand. I gotta throw my weight around a little bit. It's that. I guess it's the authoritative tone of voice. Most of the commentaries understand that Avram Avinu did the right thing. I mean, if you come to Israel and there's a famine, so what are you going to do? You're hungry. You walk into the yeshiva lunchroom, and it's not the gourmet that it usually is. So what do? You go out and get a shawarma. What are you supposed to do? I'm not going to starve. So you come into the land of Israel. That's why guys here go for shawarma every day. But you walk into what do you call? You walk. No, actually, I shouldn't have. The food here is actually excellent. The food is excellent. You notice I go home for lunch. What do you call you can't kill it. No, the food's good, but at home you come to Israel. There's a famine. What are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? Starve? So, but the Ramban says no. Avram made a mistake over here. Hey, a little faith. You're starving. There's a famine over here, but God said go to the land of Canaan. Okay, go grit it out until you get some food. Don't go running off to Egypt. So there's a machlokas. Rashi and the Ramban. It's a famous approach of Ramban. The approach of most of the Meforshim is, no, Avram did he? Listen, there was a test here. There was a test here. We're going to see another test in a second. Hold that. Put that on hold for a second. First of all, you should be wondering about something. What was the point of the famine? You should really be wondering about this. What was the point of this famine? What's the point? Why did God bring a famine here? Not according to the Ramban, according to the other, even according to the Ramban, but according to the other commentators. Why did God bring a famine? Help yourselves. There are chumashim over here if anybody needs, by the way. Pass around. There's chumash over here. Pass around. Make sure everybody has a chumash. Why did God bring a famine, gentlemen? Why did God bring a famine? To test Avram. Okay, we'll talk about the test in a second. But what was the purpose? When God does something, I told you, if a cobra would start crawling through the window over here, what would I do? Leave, jump, panic. These are all adjectives or verbs and adjectives that would I would run. Now, where would I run to? I'd run in that direction. That means if somebody would ask you, why did Hashem bring a cobra through the window? The answer is because Hashem, for some reason, wanted to get me out there. Hold for 1 second. Hashem wanted me out there. Why? Because there's a $100 bill on the floor out there, which I wouldn't find otherwise. So in order to get me over there, to get there, Hashem brought the cobra through the window. Hold for 1 second. Hashem brings a cobra through the window. Okay? Why did Hashem bring the famine in Eretz Yisrael? What did he say?
I have a question on that.
But 1 second. Why did Hashem bring? What?
To make Avram leave.
To get Avram down to go to Mitzrayim. Hashem brought a famine in order to get Avram to go down to Mitzrayim. Now, doesn't that bother you? You mean a famine for one Jew to get down to, so the entire land of Canaan has to have a famine? Doesn't it bother you? The whole family, just for what? For one Jew, so he goes down to Egypt? That's why you have a famine? What's your question? What's your name?
That was my question.
Yeah. Oh, what's it? Okay, excellent. Excellent. A whole land has to suffer. And what's the answer? What's your name? Gabriel. Excellent question. What? A whole land has to have a famine so that Avram Avinu goes down? Yeah, go ahead.
I was thinking that it would be the whole land so that they leave to clear out for Abraham.
But they didn't. They stayed, and he went. Good question. What did everybody else in the land do? I'm not sure. But Avram Avinu goes down to Mitzrayim, and that's the purpose of the famine. That's clearly the purpose of the famine. So I want to read you 3 quotes from the Gemara. There's a Gemara in Yevamos that says, by the way, how many of you were at a Friday night meal this week? How many of you went to a Friday night Suda this week? Ate a Friday Shabbos meal Friday night? How many of you ate a Friday? Show of hands. How many of you ate Friday night? You had a meal Friday night. How many of you heard Kiddush Friday night? How many of you protested Friday night? None of you registered to protest? So somebody stood there with a cup of wine, and he said, Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, he chose us from among all the nations. None of you protested? Good. So I don't want to hear anything now. Got you. I got you right where I want you, okay? Says the Gemara in Yevamis, because if you object to this, then you should have protested Friday night. You didn't protest because you didn't understand what they were saying? That's even worse. Maybe they were talking about you. So the Gemara says like this. It's a Gemara in Yevamis. Ein poranus ba la'olam. Calamity only comes to the world, ela b'shvil Yisrael, for the Jewish people. How do you like that? So if a bridge gets wrecked in Baltimore, or if there's an earthquake in Indonesia, or if there's a flood in Spain, it's for the Jews. How do you like that? It's for the Jews. All for the Jews. Why? Because it's supposed to wake us up. It's supposed to wake us up. When we see an earthquake in Indonesia, or you see what do you call it? You see the Mets win the World Series, chas v'sholom, with the ultimate calamity, right? So that is something that's supposed to say, ooh, there's suffering in the world. And then I'm supposed to do tshuva. It comes either to motivate us, or it comes as a punishment because we're not behaving properly. But one way or another, the Gemara says it happens because of the Jews. One second, there's another statement. Even the families that live in the earth, mishpachos ha'adama, bugs. You ever see bug families? Worms, creepy crawly, they seem to get along well. Even families, they're only blessed because of the Jewish people. All prosperity in the world comes from the Jewish people. And the Gemara says even boats that travel from Gallia le'Aspamia. I don't know where Gallia is. Aspamia seems to be Spain. Boats out on the Mediterranean who have a successful voyage. Guess what? Guess what? Who's it because of? The Jews. So it's all because of the Jews. When they accuse us of kind of manipulating the world, they're right. Don't tell anybody. They're absolutely, yeah, I know. Listen, get with the program, everybody. That's it. So it's all because of the Jews. It's all because of the Jews. That's what the Gemara says. So can a Jew, Avram Avinu represents the Jews. He's the only Jew in the world. Can there be a famine in an entire land just to get Avram Avinu down to Mitzrayim? Everybody together? Yes. There you go. Yes. That's why he's got to go down. Now, 1 second. Now we're going to go into this next. Hold all the questions out for a few minutes because I want to go into the next episode. Can we turn on the air for a second? Hoodie, just for a few minutes. Thank you. Okay. This is this is kind of a bizarre episode. I want you to follow the psukim inside, everybody. I want you to follow inside. Page 56. Pasuk Yud Aleph. And Avi, you were right. This was a test for Avram Avinu. And we're going to talk about the test in a second. As Avram approached and getting close to Egypt, Vayomer el Sarai Ishto, he says to Sarai, his wife, Hinena yadati ki isha yefas mareot. I now know that you are a beautiful woman. Now, there are three different opinions over here. One opinion is that, a very famous opinion, that Avram and Sarah were so modest and exercised such restraint, he never looked at her. And then on the way down to Egypt, as they crossed the river, he caught her reflection in the water. He said, wow, you're beautiful. We got a problem. Because we're going down to Egypt, and these guys are immoral. And they're not shomer. And therefore, we have a situation. That's one opinion. He didn't look at his wife. Now, it's true, most wives do want their husbands to look at them. But if the wife gives her consent because she appreciates her husband's spiritual level, and this is a concept beyond our comprehension, but that's what the Medrash says, that they were both so tsanua that he didn't look at her. He didn't look at her. One opinion. Hold for a few minutes all the questions. Second opinion is that he knew she was beautiful, but he assumed, travel, sometimes people get off a plane. People who've been traveling get off a plane, they look like the theoretical possibility of matter without form. and travel, especially in the old days, on a donkey and a wagon and through a dusty desert, you're not expecting your wife to look like Miss America. And all of a sudden he says, hey, boy, you're still beautiful. That's strange. Now we got a problem over here, and we got to do. And number three is, he knew she was beautiful. He said, now we got to do something about it. Okay, so he knows she's beautiful. So what does he do? And here comes this one, very, very difficult to understand. When the Egyptians see you, they'll assume ishtozos. They're going to say, well, that's his wife. They'll kill me and they'll keep you alive. Because chas v'sholom, they don't want to commit adultery. Murder is okay. They'll kill me and keep you alive. I don't understand. Why not just take her away and leave him? Why do you have to kill him? Just take her. What's the problem? Then it's adultery. We're firm guys over here in Egypt. We don't commit adultery. Kill the guy, right? Just execute. Kill the guy. That'll take care of it. It's a little strange, isn't it? That one they're worried about, the other they're not worried about. So there are commentaries that say, yeah, because adultery, if he's alive, say they're Noachides. Noachides are forbidden, commit adultery, can't take another man's wife. And as Noachides, every time somebody lives with her, it's a sin. Killing and murdering him is a one-time thing. You murder him once, okay, finish. You can't keep murdering him over and over again. But the adultery could keep happening, number one. Number two, there was a belief in the ancient world, according to the Malbim, one of the classic commentaries. Excuse me one second. The Malbim says, in the ancient world, they believed that a woman who was exceptionally beautiful is like a goddess. And she is only allowed to marry a monarch. And a commoner who's married to her has forfeited his life because he's usurped the right of the king. And so Avraham Avinu is saying, listen, they're going to take one look at her, they're going to say, she's absolutely gorgeous, she should really be by the king, and they'll justifiably murder me. They're going to kill me for this. I have an idea. Imri na achosia, tell them that you're my sister. I mean, that's really believable. Some guy is walking around with a gorgeous sister, just a brother and a sister, there they go. Leman yitav, now this is the part that gets puzzled. Leman yitav li ba'avurech, it should be good for me on your account. V'chaysa nafshi b'galech, and I'll be kept alive because of you. Now if you look at Rashi, what does Rashi say? Leman yitav li ba'avurech, look at Rashi. It's the left column, 5 lines from the bottom. Leman yitav li ba'avurech, Yitnu li matanos, they'll give me gifts. Do them a favor. Tell them you're my wife. Tell them you're my sister. That way they'll give me gifts and keep me alive. Well, happy birthday. That's just terrific. And what about me? Oh, you'll get taken by the king. I'll hold all the questions for a few minutes. You'll get taken by the king. No, me? I'll have some gifts, I'll be okay. Sounds a little strange. So obviously what was Avraham Avinu meant over here? He meant that, look, in the ancient world, how did it work? If you wanted to marry somebody's sister or daughter, what did you do? You gave them a couple of camels, a donkey, 2 bars of gold, and that was it. You bartered for you made an exchange. Avraham Avinu is saying, look, if you're my wife, then it's good. If they think you're my wife, that's going to be really bad for you. For you, Sarah. His concern is for her. Because if you come in as my wife, they're going to kill me, then you're going to live a fate worse than death, and they're going to take you, who knows what they're going to do with you. If you say that you're my sister, so then they'll barter for you. They'll give me gifts. As a wealth, one of two possibilities here. I could name an exorbitant price, which nobody's going to be willing to pay, which according to some of the Meforshim, that's what he had in mind. I could either name an exorbitant price, or better, alternatively, they'll give me enough that I'll be able to somehow ransom you out of here. But it's all for your benefit. It's all for your benefit, because otherwise you're not in a good situation. We all agree. But at least this will give us a fighting chance. He's not in it for the money. He's in it so that one way or another he has a chance to get her out. So look at the next pasuk. Pasuk Yudalit. V'haya kivo Avram Mitzrayim. When Avram arrived in Egypt, and Rashi points out it doesn't say kivo but they both arrived. It says when he arrived. Vayiru ha-Mitzrim es-ha'isha ki yafei, the Egyptians saw the woman, she's very beautiful. But it only says that he arrived. Well, where was she? So the famous medrash, what did Avram do? He put her in a box. And he tried to get through customs. It's like in Israel when you come in through the airport. Nothing to declare. Everything, nobody ever declares anything. There you guys walking in with a big boxes of what do you call it? He's got these massive containers, nothing to declare. You just go through the green line as opposed to the red line. So it doesn't the Medrash, Avraham Avinu came in, he put her in a box. So the Medrash says that they said to the guy, what do you got in the box? You got some spices in there. Said, I'll pay whatever you want me to pay the tax on spices. Oh, maybe you got gold in there. I'll pay whatever you want me to pay for the gold. Maybe you got some fancy fabric in there. What's it called? Silk or fancy priceless silk. I'll pay whatever the taxes are in silk, whatever you expect. They said, open the box. And finally he opens the box, and there's the how he got away with saying it's his sister. Why did you put your sister in a box is a good question. Okay, what? 1 second. Vayiru Sare, Osa Sare Pharaoh, the inner cabinet of Pharaoh, the highest government ministers. This is what they got on their mind. These are guys running the country. The guys running the country see the woman. Vayahalu Osa Pharaoh. And therefore they go and they tell Pharaoh, hey, we got good news, Emperor. Vatuka Chaisha based Pharaoh. She's taken to Pharaoh's house. Now, gentlemen, imagine that Bill Clinton's the president. And Hillary is on some sort of diplomatic mission to China. And a Jewish guy and his wife are standing outside the White House. They're on a tour of Washington. And the Secret Service guys come out, and they like what she looks like. And they grab her and pull her into the White House with Bill Clinton. She's a Jewish girl. And they pull her into the White House with Bill Clinton. What would be flittering? What would go through your mind as the husband? I guess they're having a philosophical discussion in there, right? This is a test for Avraham Avinu. Now, be careful here. A test, if I'm hungry and you put non-kosher food in front of me, then I have a test, right? What's the test? Am I going to eat it or I'm not going to eat it? It's a test. But if you're stuck in traffic and you can't move, it's gridlock, is that a test? What's the test? You can't go anywhere. What can you possibly do? What kind of test is it? And the answer, it is a test. What kind of test is it? If you're stuck in traffic on a hot day in New York and your air conditioning's not working, is that a test? And what if you lose your patience? If you lose your patience, you can't go anywhere. What are you going to do, shoot the guy in the car ahead of you? Well, probably a few of those. But yeah, what's it? Oh, so you're right. There are two types of tests. There's one test which is, will I or won't I? I'll eat it or I won't eat. I'll indulge or I won't indulge. That's one type of test. There's another type of test, which is nothing you can do, but it's what's your attitude. My attitude is, and that was that's why I said the original test, when Avram comes to the land of Israel, there's a famine. So according to commentators, you got to turn around and go to eat. So what's the test? What's the test? The test is, are you going to turn around and say to Hashem, hey, what's up with that? You brought me here, you did what, and now you're making me leave? That's what you're at. Or do you simply turn around and you say, Gam Zulit Tova, Gam, singing Anki Moishi song. Gam Zulit Tova, right? That's the test. Avraham Avinu's wife is now taken by the monarch, by Pharaoh. He's outside and he's hopeless and helpless. What's the test? The test is, what is your reaction going to be? Is your reaction going to be that you're upset with Hashem, or your reaction is, well, this Hashem has a plan, and you accept it with the plan? It's a very difficult test, but that's why it's regarded as a test. Somebody, Gabriel, you had a question.
We went past it.
Okay.
It was more about why, if his plan was to offer his as his sister, why would he then put her in a box?
Oh, I don't know what the regular. I guess that was the fallback plan. First, let's see if we can sneak her in. And if they pull her out, you never close your sister in a closet? You never locked your sister in a closet? I don't know. And that's a good question. I've had this. That's why I said I don't know exactly how he was going to get away, explain that, why he put his sister in a box. But that's what the Medrash says.
Why couldn't you just cover her face like they
Well, then he just uncover the face,
Yeah, but it's respectful woman covers her face.
Yeah, but I guess if you're coming into the country, customs, they want to say, let's see what you got under there. Because it could be. Listen, these are the ministers. These are the main ministers of the country. This is what they're involved in. Instead of running the country, they're checking out the women coming across the border. So the Egyptians were known for their rampant immorality. Okay, so what happens? So Avram Avinu, it works out. They take her to Pharaoh's house. Ula Avram hetiv ba'avura. Avram is, what do you call it? Avram, he benefits Avram. Vahilo tzon uvakar v'chamorim v'avodim u'shvachos asonos u'gmalim. He gets a lot of cattle, and they give him cash and prizes, like a game show. And now, gentlemen, before we go on, you can't do this with your sisters, by the way. That was an ancient custom. You can't, hey sis, I got good news for you. I'm rich. Really? Yeah, because you're married to him. You can't do that. So Avram has, but what happens? So she goes into Paro. Vayinaga Hashem es Paro negoim gedolim. Paro suffers affliction. And the Medrash said, why? Vayinaga Hashem es Paro, as the going top of page 58. Vez beso. Al dvar Sarai eshes Avram. Because of the matter of Sarai. That means, the Medrash says, Rashi brings up, there was a malach in the room with them. There was an angel. And the angel was holding a whip. And every time Paro approached her, she said to the angel, whip him. And Paro was getting whipped by the angel. I don't know if he saw the angel, if he saw the whip, or if it was an invisible, I don't know. The Medrash doesn't say, but he was getting whipped. The question becomes, if she was negotiated for as a sister, so what did Paro do wrong? I mean, he gave up a lot. I mean, look at all the cattle he gave Avram Avinu. And so why is Paro suffering over here? The answer is because Sarai, when they were alone, she said to him, don't touch me, I'm a married woman. Now, maybe you are, and maybe you're not. So why, I mean, that's a likely story. The answer is, how likely is it that she's a married woman, that she would say it if she didn't mean it? I mean, let's say she was single. Any single girl would be honored to become the queen, to become one of Paro's wives. So why should Paro get punished? She says, I'll devour. Where do we even find evidence? Look at the pasuk. The commentaries say, top line. Vayinaga Hashem es Paro negoim gedol v'es beso al dvar Sarai, because of the words of Sarai. What were her words? Eshes Avram, the wife of Avram. That means she was saying to Paro, I am the wife of Avram. And Paro should have figured out that if she's saying it, that she means the truth. Do you know, it says that Shimshon, you've heard of Shimshon, Samson? Shimshon. So he of the long hair. And so his wife was trying to find the source of his strength. And at a certain point, he kept making up stories. And she tied him up, and she bound his hands, and then she said, the Plishtim are coming, and he popped the cords off, and he had no. And finally, she said to him, what's the source of your strength? He said, it's because I don't drink wine and I have my long hair that was never cut. And the Nach says, she saw he was telling the truth. How'd she know? How'd she know he was telling the truth? Says the Gemara, Nikarin divrei ha'emes. The truth is recognized. When somebody's telling the truth, you can tell they're telling the truth. Not all the time. Not all the time. Your wife can, all the time. But she knows if you're telling the truth or not. But the politician, you can tell if they're telling the truth or not. Right? Usually not. Right? Usually when their lips move. And so Sarah is saying to him, listen, I'm his wife. He should have understood that. He should have understood she's telling the truth. And again, the logic is because whoever refused the king, the monarch. And therefore, Paro gets whipped around. So eventually, what does he do? Watch this. This is us, gentlemen. So what is Paro? Vayikra Paro la'Avram. Paro calls Avram. Second line. Vayomer mazos asisli. What'd you do to me? Does that Paro says to Avram, what'd you do to me? Lama lo igata talikisha. Why'd you tell me you're my wife? Why'd you tell me she's your wife? Now what would the answer to that question be? Why'd you tell me she's your wife? What's the answer to that question? You would have killed me. Right? But Paro doesn't wait for an answer. Look at that. I guess he knows. Lama Marta Chosihi. Why'd you say it's your sister? V'kachasa li Lisha. And I took her as a wife. Take your wife and get out of here. So Pharaoh doesn't even wait for an answer. Why did you tell me it's your wife? Well, that should be pretty obvious. You would have murdered me. This is the classic. There are two things that you see here. First one, there's the blame the victim. There's the famous blame the victim. There's the blame the victim symptom, where no matter what, well, you shouldn't have been here with the money dangling out of your pocket. I wouldn't have picked your pocket. You tempted me because you had your wallet was dangling out of your pocket. That's your fault, number one. Number two, there's an attitude of, is it kosher unless you know otherwise, or is it non-kosher unless you know otherwise? What's your approach to it? It's permissible unless I found out that it's forbidden, or it's forbidden unless I find out that it's permissible. So you walk into a room and you see, there's a piece of cake, there's some fresh cake on the table. Well, I guess it's hefker. You can go and indulge and help yourself. Or maybe the attitude should be, well, if it's on the table, then crawl there by itself. The cake didn't get there by itself. Maybe it belongs to somebody. So there are two approaches to life. There's one approach that says, well, if I'm interested, nobody said no, so I guess it's yes. The alternative is, if nobody said yes, so I guess it's no. And generally, as Torah Jews, our approach is the latter. If you don't know, the response is, if you don't know, the attitude is, well, don't until you know that you're allowed to. Not do until you know you're not allowed to. That's generally the approach. If you walk into the kitchen and you see there's a fresh cake on the counter, when's the last time your wife baked on a Tuesday evening? Some fancy monstrosity. Right? Well, I guess it's for me. Bad guess. That was meant to be for a Sheva Brachas or a Kiddush or something else. So if you don't know, ask. That's the rule. If you don't know, ask. Some people is shoot first, then ask questions later. And the Torah there is no. First ask, then shoot. Okay, let's go on. Pasuk Perek Yud Gimel. So Avram leaves. And now we get a better look at Lot. Vayal Avram mimitzrayim hu v'ishto v'chol asher lo v'lot imo anegba. So Avram comes up with his buddy from Egypt, with his wife and with Lot. Now watch this. Avram kaved me'od. Avram was very heavy. B'mikdeh b'kesef u'v'zahav. With cattle, with silver and gold that he had sold off some of the what do you call it? He's a wealthy man. I just read this morning on the news. Warren Buffett, warms the heart just to say the name, right? Warren Buffett, I don't know what this means in financial market. I don't know what it means. It says he is sitting on, this is what it said in the news this morning. Warren Buffett is sitting on $325 billion cash. He's liquidated Apple. He's liquidated stuff. I don't know what it means to be sitting on the cash. I don't know what that means. What's that?
Not good.
He claims
He liquidated everything.
He pulled all his assets.
he pulled all of his assets, which means, and so where is this cash?
Oh, probably in his sofa.
Under the sofa, yeah. That's a big sofa. Sofa so good. Yeah. So I don't even know what it means. But it's 300. Okay, Avram becomes a very wealthy man.
Okay.
Now, Vayelech lemasav b'negev ad Beisel ad mokom asher Hashem olo batchila ben Beisel levein ai. So he returns on his journeys. Now you have to see Rashi here, gentlemen. Vayelech lemasav. Take a look at Rashi because this is the key point I want to get to today. It's the right column, 4 lines from the bottom. Vayelech lemasav. He. How does our article translate? Just what's his turn? He proceeded on his journeys. Okay, so Rashi says like this. Everybody see it? Right column, 4 lines from the bottom. Kishechazar mimitzrayim le'eretz Canaan. When he went back from Egypt to the land of Canaan, hayaholech v'lon ba'achsanios. He went and he slept. He boarded in the hostels. Shalon bahen ba'alichosan lemitzrayim. He boarded in the same hostels as on the way down. Now think about this. On the way down to Egypt, he had nothing. It was a famine. What kind of facilities do you think he stayed at? Some sort of roadside hostel where you see travelers with backpacks, who barely have a sandwich. And on the way back, he's a wealthy man. As a wealthy man, where would you expect him to stay? At the Cairo Hilton, on the sign, some five-star hotel in the Sinai. You wouldn't expect him to go back to these cheap hostels. I mean, these places with 7 guys in a room. Why is he staying in the same places? Says the Torah. Says Rashi. Limedcha derech eretz. The Torah should try to be a proper behavior. Shelo yeshana odam me'achsanya shelo. Don't change your host. Now this is a practical ramification. That means if you're a guest in a city, let's say a town. See, nowadays cities are big. Let's say you go to a small town, like Toronto, and you go to some small town, and you're a guest at somebody's house. And then you leave town. Then the next time you come to town, you should give him the first opportunity to host you. He may not want to, but give him the first chance. Because if you change without his approval, so what are people going to say? Hey, how come he's not staying by the Goldbergs anymore? Yes, the food was lousy, the people weren't nice. You could be very insulting to the host. So if you go back to a town when you've been there, and again, we're talking about in a social situation, in a situation where obviously people notice you and you're somebody who the people care about. If you're especially a more dignified person, so then it can be very insulting to the host. So the first thing the Torah says, Avram went back to the same hotel. He went to the same hostels. Because otherwise, you can ruin a guy's business. Avram Avinu, how come you're not going to the same hostel? Now so something wasn't good over there? So he goes back to, that's the first thing the Torah teaches. Number 2, Davar Acher, last line of Rashi. B'chazaraso para hakafosav. On the way back, he paid off his debts. So we learn several things here. First of all, not only you shouldn't change your hostel because of the potential insult to the host, but what else happened? Why are you upgrading? On the way down, we stayed in a cheap motel. On the way back, we moved up to a 5-star hotel. Torah says it's not a good idea to upgrade your lifestyle. Just because you could doesn't mean you should. Mr. Zev Wolfson, was a multimillionaire, was a big supporter of Torah. Mr. Wolfson, you've heard of Zev Wolfson. He supported many of the Torah Kiruv projects. So somebody once saw him on a plane. He was sitting in coach, a multimillionaire, and he was sitting in what they call economy, what we call cattle, and he was sitting there. So somebody said to him, somebody on the plane saw him. He said, Mr. Wolfson, why are you sitting in these seats? He said, because there's nothing cheaper on the plane. He was Jewish. So sometimes in life, I spoke about Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett still lives in the same house in Omaha that he lived in, like a regular house. He never a mansion, never what do you call it? Drives a regular car. Doesn't drive a Lamborghini. Yeah, you don't have to. Just because you could doesn't mean you should. You're allowed to enjoy your money, but we spoke yesterday about flaunting it. Number 1. Number 2, Rashi then says Avram Avinu paid off his debts. What debts did he have? And stop and think about this. What debts could there have been? That means, what's that?
When he broke all the statues in his dad's house. Maybe he paid for
that. He never paid for. That he never paid. No, good try. That he never paid for. That means that on the way down, why did he stay at the same hostels? He stayed at the same hostel because he had to pay his debts. What were the debts? On the way down to Mitzrayim, he came to this hostel, and he said, hi, could you put me up, me and my entourage? Yeah, all right, let me see your credit card. Well, I haven't got anything for you now. Well, what's up, why should I lay? I'm good for it. I'll get you on the flip-flop. I mean, if you were the owner of the hostel, would you trust Avram Avinu? Where are you going? Going down to Egypt. Oh, forget it, buddy. I'm never going to see you again. And who says I'm ever going to see you again? Would you trust Avram Avinu? The answer is that the owners of the hostels did. Why? Because when you meet an Avram Avinu, something about him exudes trustworthiness. There's something about this man, if he says to me he'll pay for it, I trust this guy. And there are other people who, I've met people who my first impression of certain people when I meet them is, no matter what happens, I will never lend this guy money. I once talked to a big businessman, guy from Australia, very big businessman. And I asked him, he's all work and deal. I said, does it ever happen to you that a guy will walk into your office and you make up your mind right away that no matter what he's offering, you're not going to get involved? He said to me, all the time. Happens all the time. I don't like something about your attitude. I don't like how you look at it. It's something. An Avram Avinu, this is somebody we could trust. And that, the Torah says, that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to make ourselves into the type of person that when somebody meets us, I don't know if they'll extend credit for free, but they should feel they're in the presence of a high caliber, honest, a refined person, as opposed to somebody who they wish that we never met us. That's how it should, number one. Number two, he had other debts. Avram even had other debts to pay back. This is tongue-in-cheek, but there's a lot of truth to it. Imagine Avram Avinu on his way down to Egypt. And he's meeting these people, and people say, what's your name? Avram. Last name, Avinu. Oh, yeah. Aren't you the guy who the Lord said to leave and go to the land of Canaan? Oh, yeah. I mean, he promised you good stuff, huh? You Mr. Monotheist? Idol buster? Where's the loot? Yeah, well, things haven't worked out so well. Yeah, I'll bet. Right? Then Avram Avinu comes down to Egypt. Then he comes back with gold, wealth, and he goes back to the hostels. Hi. Just wanted to say hello. That's his payback. He's got some debts to settle. But you see, it's more than, it's not Avram Avinu like, it's because Avram Avinu is worried about what's the Chil Hashem, the desecration of God's name. He's the guy who represents Hashem in this world. And I'm telling everybody, Hashem promised me all these things. Then Avram Avinu comes back and says, yes, by the way, this is the promise. This is the promise. That's what it means. That's what it means to pay back. All right, tomorrow we'll see about Avram and Lot, with the first family feud in history. The second one, Cain killed Hevel.